I guess let me start out by saying, what I told the players in the locker room after the game on Tuesday night. I congratulated them on truly a magical season. Thinking back to the distractions in training camp, the significant injuries, that this team sustained. Of course, losing our starting center, Andrew Bynum, and then a week later, and Trevor Ariza going down with an injury that basically cost us the rest of the season. And then a mid-season trade, that this team would progress, play the way they played, as a team, pass the way they passed. An unselfish group that really got along and played team basketball, to win a division and to win the Western Conference Finals. They ought to be congratulated, as should our coaching staff. And it's my job to have some vision, and I don't live in the trenches with the players and the coaches. I take the losses hard, but I do have to take a step back and look at the future. Of course, it all came to a screeching halt on Tuesday night. So the last 2 or 3 days, there have been a lot of down players walking through our offices. You're starting to see some players smile a little bit and work their way through a tough time. I will say that I know how they feel. In 1984, I sat in basically that same building in that same cubicle when we got beat by the Celtics. So I know how they feel, and I also know that as time goes on, they'll feel better. A lot of times, there's something to be learned through defeat. You learn a little bit about yourself, you learn a little bit about your teammates, and you know what you have to work on during the offseason. So as painful as it was, I think there is a learning process here that may benefit us in the future. I also would like to, thank, my staff, for helping this organization navigate through the season. I won't name everybody, but I will name Ronnie Lester and Jimmy Buss. We've got a lot of work to do going forward. As you know, the draft is next week. A week after that is July 1st, which indicates free agency has begun. We do have a couple of players that are free agents. We have not met with ownership yet. We'll do that shortly. So I don't know how much I can share with you in terms of how active or inactive we'll be this summer. But I do believe that the future for this team is bright going forward. And I would hope that we have the ability to be in the hunt every year going forward in the immediate future. You can never guarantee that you're going to get back to the finals no matter how talented you are. Could be an injury, an unfortunate foul, a game where no one can make a shot and you don't advance. So it's a bitter pill to swallow to know that you got there this year and you just couldn't quite take advantage of it. As an older veteran player, I think some of our guys know that. The younger players don't know that. So we do believe our future is bright. We're hopeful that we'll be in the hunt going forward in the immediate future, but we have a lot of work to do during the offseason.
You mentioned a couple free agents. What are your thoughts on Sasha right now, Mitch?
Well, we have several free agents. Sasha is one of those free agents. He's an unrestricted free agent. I thought he had, an excellent season. I thought the key was when we made the trade to bring Trevor Ariza here and freed up that backcourt backup position to Kobe. Sasha was basically the fifth guard off the bench prior to that. And it's hard to be the fifth guard because if you make your first two shots, you're going to stay in the game. If you don't, the coach is probably going to go with, the backup, who at that time was Mo Evans. So, we gave him a chance, and he took advantage of the chance. And I thought, when February rolled around, he was playing with great confidence, and he ended up having a very, very good year for us.
Think he'll be back?
I think he'll be back. We intend to bring him back.
Just looking at the other big name, I guess, would be Roney. So obviously a lot of people at that position. I mean, is it how much does that play into it? And again, I mean, how much do you want to bring him
We
back?
intend to bring Roney back too. Both players are restricted free agents, so we can't lose either player. It ultimately would be our choice if a player did not return. But Roney brings to the table, skills and energy levels, that we don't have with other players. So he's not really a duplication of something we already have.
Are you interested to see next year going into camp and how the first part of the season plays out with the front court of Andrew, Lamar, and Gasol, and see if Lamar fits in with that against the other two?
Phil and I have spent the last 2 days together, meeting players, with exit meetings. But in between meetings, we've had a chance to sit down and talk a little bit. And, that was discussed, in brief. And I think it would be a challenge to our coach, and I think he's intrigued by it. The possibilities are endless. I'm not sure what Phil talked about, prior to this, media session, but, Lamar can be a guard. You can have Kobe be a small forward. You can bring a player off the bench. You can play zone. It could be the longest and the biggest front court in the NBA in many, many years. So the possibilities, I think, would challenge our coaches during the offseason. I think Phil would be challenged by it to get really creative, because it is a team that would be very talented, very long, and versatile. And I think training camp would be an important time, for us or for him to test out, what he's decided to do through the summer.
Mitch, what's your thinking at this point today about the offseason? Do you want to be aggressive in looking at other free agents? I realize you haven't spoken to Dr. Buss yet about anything, but
we're well over the cap. We're well over the luxury tax threshold. I've looked at the free agent lists. We've ranked them. My staff and I have spent hours, ranking these guys. We've gone through every team in the NBA, looking at teams, what they may and may not do. But the bottom line is it's not a very strong, unrestricted free agent crop of players. And the 3 or 4 players that are proven, NBA game changers, are not going to be signed for the mid-level or a number, below the mid-level. They're all players that would make a lot of money. So those types of players won't be available to us, as a signing. I think, we'll continue to look at, ways to, add to the team, whether it's through a lesser signing, or a trade. But if we did nothing and brought back the players that are our existing free agents, just by virtue of this team, aging one more year and getting Trevor and Andrew back, I think we're right back in the hunt.